Why do smart people make dumb decisions with money? That's the question Morgan Housel tackles in The Psychology of Money. His answer might surprise you. Doing well with money has very little to do with how smart you are. It has almost everything to do with how you behave. Housel says finance is usually taught like physics, with formulas and rules, but it should be taught more like psychology, with emotions and biases. Because money decisions are rarely made on a spreadsheet. They're made at a kitchen table, filtered through fear, ego, greed, and habit. Lesson 1. No one is crazy. We all make money decisions based on our own unique experience of the world, and that experience is incredibly narrow. Someone who grew up during a market crash sees risk completely differently than someone who grew up during a boom. Neither is wrong. They've just lived different realities. This is why the same piece of financial advice can be brilliant for one person and terrible for another. Lesson 2. Luck and risk are two sides of the same coin. Some of the most celebrated investors and entrepreneurs got a boost from luck they don't fully acknowledge. Some of the most reckless decision makers got saved by luck too. And some of the most careful, sensible people still got wiped out by risk they couldn't have predicted. Housel's advice: focus less on specific people's outcomes, especially extreme ones, and more on broad patterns that apply across many situations. Lesson 3. Never enough. Housel opens with a story about a hedge fund manager who had already made more money than he could spend in several lifetimes, and still risked it all chasing more, and lost everything. The lesson is that the hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. When enough doesn't have a defined finish line, no amount of money will ever feel like success. Lesson 4. Compounding is the real magic, but it's boring. Warren Buffett's fortune wasn't mainly built on being the best stock picker. It was built on being a good investor for an extremely long time. Starting as a child and still compounding into his 90s, Housel points out that most of Buffett's net worth was earned after he qualified for retirement. Time in the market, not perfect timing, is what does the heavy lifting. Small, unglamorous gains, repeated for decades, beat dramatic short bursts almost every time. Lesson 5. Getting money and keeping money are different skills. Getting money requires taking risks, being optimistic, and putting yourself out there. Keeping money requires the exact opposite: humility, frugality, and a healthy fear of losing what you've built. Housel argues that a huge number of financial failures come from people who were great at the first skill and terrible at the second. Lesson 6. Tail events drive almost everything. A small number of events, a handful of decisions, a handful of investments, are usually responsible for the majority of results. Most individual choices don't matter much, but a few outsized ones account for nearly everything. This means it's normal, even expected, for most of your individual decisions to be mediocre or wrong, as long as your big wins are big enough to make up for it. Lesson 7. Freedom is the highest dividend money pays. The ultimate value of money isn't a fancy car or a bigger house. It's control over your own time. Being able to wake up and decide how to spend your day without financial pressure forcing your hand is what Housel calls the single greatest benefit money can buy. This is why he leans so heavily on savings, not as a means to a specific purchase, but as a way to buy independence and options for the future. Lesson 8. Wealth is what you don't see. Housel makes a sharp distinction between rich and wealthy. Rich is visible: the car, the house, the vacations. Wealthy is invisible. It's the money not spent, sitting quietly, giving you choices later. Spending money to show people you have money is often the fastest way to end up with less of it. Lesson 9. Save money, and don't wait for a specific reason. You don't need a defined goal to save. Life is unpredictable, and savings act as a buffer against the surprises you can't see coming. A job loss, a health issue, an unexpected opportunity. The value of savings isn't tied to any single purchase. It's tied to flexibility and peace of mind. Lesson 10. Reasonable beats rational. You don't need to optimize every decision like a spreadsheet would. You need a strategy you can actually stick with through good years and bad ones. Housel argues that a good enough plan you follow consistently for decades will always beat a theoretically perfect plan you abandon after one bad year. So what's the big takeaway from the psychology of money? Building wealth isn't about intelligence or a secret formula. It's about behavior, patience, humility, and the discipline to stay the course when emotions are pulling you in the opposite direction. As Housel puts it in spirit throughout the book, how you behave with money matters more than what you know about money.